Boom, boom, share, screen, boom. All right, move those things there. Move that thing up yonder. Perfect. All right, Matthew 22, starting in verse 1. And Jesus answered and spoke to them again in parables, saying, The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son. And he sent out his slaves to call those who had been called to the wedding feast, and they were unwilling to come. Again, he sent out other slaves, saying, Tell those who have been called, Behold, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fattened livestock are all butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast. But they paid no attention and went their way, one to his own farm, another to his business. And the rest seized his slaves and mistreated them and killed them. But the king was enraged, and he sent his armies and destroyed those murderers and set their cities on fire. Then he said to his slaves, The wedding is ready, but those who were called were not worthy. Go therefore to the main highways, and as many as you find there, call to the wedding feast. And those slaves went out into the streets and gathered together all they found, both evil and good, and the wedding hall was filled with dinner guests. But when the king came in to look over the dinner guests, he saw a man there who was not dressed in wedding clothing. And he said to him, Friend, how did you come in here without wedding clothes? And the man was speechless. Then the king said to his servants, Bind him hand and foot and throw him into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen. Then the Pharisee went and took counsel together about how they might trap him in what he said. And they sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians, saying, Teacher, we know that you are truthful and teach the way of God in truth, and defer to no one, for you are not partial to any. Therefore, tell us, what do you think? Is it lawful to give a tax to Caesar or not? But Jesus, knowing their wickedness, said, Why are you testing me, you hypocrites? Show me the coin used for tax. And they brought him a denarius. And he said to them, Whose likeness and inscription is this? They said to him, Caesar's. Then he said to them, Therefore render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. And hearing this, they marveled, leaving him, and they went away. On that day, some Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, came to Jesus and asked him a question, saying, Teacher, Moses said if a man dies having no children, his brother, as next of kin, shall marry his wife and raise up a seed for his brothers. Now, there are 7 brothers with us. The first married and died, and having no seed, he left his wife to his brother. So also the second and the third, down to the 7th. And last of all, the woman died. Now in the resurrection, therefore, whose wife of the 7 will she be? For they all had married her. Jesus answered and said to them, You are mistaken, not understanding the scriptures, nor the power of God. For in the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. But regarding the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was spoken to you by God, saying, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. And the crowds heard this. And when the crowds heard this, they were astonished at his teaching. But when the Pharisees heard Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered themselves together. And one of them, a scholar of the law, asked him a question, testing him. Teacher, which is the greatest commandments of the law? He said to him, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And yeah, this is great this is the great and foremost commandment. And the second is like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang the whole law and the prophets. Now, while the Pharisees gathered together, Jesus asked them a question, saying, What do you think about the Christ? Whose son is he? And they said to him, The son of David. And he said to them, Then how does David in spirit call him Lord, saying, The Lord said to my Lord, Sit at my right hand until I put your enemies beneath your feet. Therefore, if David calls him Lord, how is he his son? And no one was able to answer him a word, nor did anyone dare from that day on to ask him another question. Questions.
Could you explain the first parable? Because I'm
Yeah.
a little confused on okay, so he let everybody into the party, like all these randoms, and
Yes.
then
So the initial people that were supposed to be the guests, this is in representation of the Jews. The
hmm
Jews were the ones that were supposed to come, but they rejected him, saying, No, we're not coming. And then they even went so far as to kill some of these slaves that went out to evangelize to them, to proselytize them. And so,
oh
as it's going down this thing, they say, like, okay, since that didn't work, go to all the Gentiles and invite them all in. And so they were all called in. But some of those who were called were not worthy. This is not the same as God calling. This is the calling of men. So the slaves who are out
oh
evangelizing, calling these people in, we're calling, but God didn't call them. So they were not chosen by God. So that's where there's that distinction down here where it says that many are called, but few are chosen. The context is that there was that guy who came in. He wasn't dressed in wedding clothing, which means that he wasn't wearing Christ's righteousness, which means that he didn't actually have that faith. And so he was kicked out into hell because he was not actually among them. That would be a false professor who was trying to get in, but it was obvious like, no, no, you don't belong here. Does that make sense?
yeah. I always wondered. I was like, uh, the many are called. I thought it was God calling, but it makes way more sense now that
Mm-hmm.
it's
Because
like
yeah,
it's
when
like us giving the gospel to people, and some might like become like a fake Christian, like a cultural Christian, or
exactly. So
they
that
like
would be the
straight up
guy who was
reject it.
wearing normal clothing.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah, so that's us calling. So literally, he's saying, Go therefore to the main highways, as many as you find, call to the wedding feast. So you are to call them. And so, us
Oh,
in this context of the slaves who are going out inviting more guests, we are calling. God didn't call those ones. God commanded us to call, but those were not the ones that God had chosen. The one that God calls, those ones are all chosen.
your attention to the little details are they're it's good.
Thank you. Okay, other questions.
Yeah, I have one on, I think it starts 24.
Okay,
Um, that whole part, probably all the way to 30 maybe. I
okay,
just got really confused about what all that means.
okay. Do you want me to reread it?
Yes, please.
Okay. So on that day, some Sadducees who say there is no resurrection. So quick pause on that. The Sadducees were kind of like the Pharisees, but they were divided on a single issue of they didn't believe that there was an actual resurrection of the dead at the end of time.
Mhm.
This is similar to most people today who think that we die and we instantly go to heaven. They don't
Right.
believe in a final resurrection. And
Yeah.
so Jesus is explaining that these people don't believe it. Jesus is defending the concept of the resurrection. So let's see here. So they came to ask him a question, saying, Teacher, Moses said, If a man dies having no children, his brother as next of kin shall marry his wife and raise up a seed for his brother. So we see this exemplified in Genesis 38, whenever you have Tamar, who was supposed to be wed to Onan, but Onan did something that was evil. Sorry, no, it wasn't Onan yet. Uh Oh gosh, it's messing my mind. Judah had a son who married a woman named Tamar. That guy was evil. God killed him.
Okay.
Onan was supposed to take his place. The law of Moses said that if a man dies having no children, then his brother will marry his wife and will raise up kids for his brother.
Okay.
Onan did not want to do that. So Onan, every time that they were having sex, he would pull out and spill his seed on the floor so he wouldn't impregnate her, so that he wouldn't have to raise his brother's son. And so that command is to, it wouldn't be Onan's son, it would be counted as his brother's son. And
Okay.
so Onan hated that idea. So he did not want to do that. He disobeyed God, and God killed him for violating this law. And so in that, they had another son named Shelah, and Shelah was supposed to wed Tamar next. So it was the same kind of thing. This is going on 7, that went down 3. The problem with that is Shelah was too young, so it didn't work out. So they were waiting a long time. Things happened. They forgot. His wife ended up dying. He saw Tamar, thought she was a hooker, slept with her, and that's how she had a baby. But her babies, she had Perez and one other, but Perez, I think, is the important one. Because if we go real quickly, sorry, this is leading to a whole tangent to explain this whole thing. Nope, don't want to do that. Want to, boom, open link in new window. Not that far of a window, but whatever. Okay, let's go to Matthew 1.
Yeah, I think Paris is the one that's he's related to.
Yeah. Okay, so right here,
I don't
uh,
see what you see.
you don't see this? Oh, why did it stop? Oh, what's going on? It says screen sharing is paused. How do I unpause it? What is going on here? Okay, just closing it out. Okay, 2 seconds.
Okay, it's
Okay,
your
I see.
timing.
I see why it did that. Okay. Okay. Boom, boom. Get the share back. Boom. Okay. Now, boom. New tab. Boom. Okay. Now it'll keep you in here because the sharing thing only goes to like one window. Okay. So, all right. So if we look at the genealogy, it goes through this where it goes Jacob was the father of Judah and his brothers, and Judah was the father of Perez and Zerah by Tamar. But it was
Mhm.
supposed to be Judah's son that was married to her. So if we just double this even further back, um, we're bouncing all over the place. Okay. So right here, Er was the name. So then Judah took a wife for Er, his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But excuse me, but Judah's firstborn, was evil in the sight of Yahweh, so Yahweh put him to death. Then Judah said to Onan, go into your brother's wife and perform your duty as her brother-in-law to raise up a seed for your brother. And Onan knew that the seed would not be his. And it happened that when he went into his brother, he wasted it on the ground in order to not give his seed to his brother. What he did was displeasing in the sight of Yahweh, so he put him to death. So Catholics will say like it's because he used birth control. That's why God killed him, because they ignore all the context. It wasn't
Mhm.
because of birth control that yeah, it's stupid. But regardless, so this is going on the same timeline where we have that was the law of Moses, that if the
Okay.
brother died, the
Mhm.
other brother had to marry his wife for his offspring. And so they're saying if this happened that many different times, so now there were 7 brothers with us. The first married and died, and having no seed, he left his wife to his brother. And also the second died, and the third died, all the way down to the seventh. And last of all, the woman died. In the resurrection, therefore, whose wife of the 7 will she be?
Mhm.
For they all married her. So he's asking this, the Sadducees are asking this question of like, um, in this eternal life that we're going to have, is she going to be married to all 7 of them, or is one of them going to be her husband eternally?
Okay.
Jesus then corrects them and says that you are mistaken, not understanding the scriptures nor the power of God. For
Mhm.
in the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels of heaven or in heaven. This singular passage right here, this explanation, is why our wedding vows say, till death do us part. It's
Mhm.
because in heaven, we're not married to each other. We know each other, but
Right.
there's no such thing as a marriage anymore because the marriage that we have here is symbolic exclusively of Jesus's relationship to us as the church. And so we're being examples of that on earth, but whenever we're no longer on this earth and we're on the new earth, that's no longer necessary because we will be married to Jesus.
Okay.
Did
They're
that
also
answer the
doing a
question? I know that
melting.
was a really
Yeah,
long tangent.
I think I follow. It's just, I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Like, we're not married to anyone. Our relationship is directly to Jesus. But here on earth, it's like people get married or they'll have like all these wives or whatever, and then all that doesn't matter anymore is basically right what that
Yes,
means.
it's
Yeah.
till death do us part because of
Okay.
this.
Okay, thank you. That was a really good explanation because I
I'm
just
sorry, it
really
was a
got
really
lost in
big
that
one because we
part.
had to go into laws and stuff.
Yeah.
Other questions? No other questions?
No.
Okay, so then the one thing that I wanted to point out because it's taxes, which I've mentioned this before, but it's always good because
It's
this
at the
is
top. Yeah, there you go.
yeah, it's helpful. So they're trying to trap Jesus in this. They're trying to get him to say something that is incorrect in some way. And so he knows that they're testing him, calls him out on it, which is awesome. He tells them to bring him a denarius. And then he said, "Whose likeness and inscription is this?" So he's like holding up a coin. And like today, if we hold up a quarter and say, like, "Whose likeness is this?" It's George Washington. So he said, "Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's." That shut them down because in Deuteronomy 10, it says that everything on earth belongs to God. So there is actually nothing that truly belongs to Caesar. Everything belongs exclusively to God. So this stumped them. So a lot of people think that this is saying to pay taxes, but it's the opposite. It's saying that everything belongs to God. Nothing actually belongs to Caesar. And so hearing this, they marveled, and leaving him, they went away. So the Bible is not for excessive taxation. That's just my little caveat with that. But okay, no other questions?
That's a great answer. Like everyone's gonna hear what they want to hear. Like the people that don't want to pay taxes, they're gonna hear like, oh yeah, nothing belongs to Caesar. But the ones who want you to pay taxes, they're gonna be like, oh, like he said, you know?
He said to give it to Caesar, but
Yeah.
but Deuteronomy 10. If we jump to there real quick,
It's like if you know type thing.
I didn't want to type out all of Deuteronomy, so that helped me out. All right, Deuteronomy 10.
You can probably control F.
That's probably smart. But I don't know in LSB. Let's see here. Behold, to Yahweh your God belong heaven and the highest heavens, the earth and all that's in it. Thank you. That worked.
You're welcome.
I found the word belong is perfect. So Deuteronomy 10:14 is what Jesus was referencing there. And so behold, to Yahweh your God belongs heaven and the highest heavens, the earth and all that is in it. So give to God what is God's, is give everything to God. Everything belongs to God. So that's what that was. So that's dope. So, ba-boom, ba-boom, parallel. Government sucks. Boom, boom, perfect. Okay. No other questions in 22?
What do we do about the government?
We still we go Romans 13 on that, where we obey the laws until they violate God's. Whenever the laws violate God's laws, we are no longer obligated to obey them.
Doesn't mean
So,
we'll have a good time, though. Just
no,
as a reminder.
it does not mean we'll have a good time. No. And if you really want to stretch it with, abortion being not only legal, but funded by your tax money, you know,
So we're
uh,
gonna see Taco go off the reservation, is what I'm hearing.
we're gonna see the IRS show up because of this video. All right. Matthew 23. Chantel, I'm assuming that the one that you had questions about, because you commented earlier saying that we're almost to the chapter that you have questions on. Is that Matthew 24?
It's actually 27, I believe,
Oh,
where
okay.
they talk about the resurrection of the tomb.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to give you an answer on that because the Bible gives no other information. It's just
Oh, I
zombies.
know. It's so rude. I
Uh-huh.
hate
It's
it.
so
I mean, just really, it's just like,
It
and then
just
there were zombies. So, anyways, like,
it's literally just like a little nugget of information. It's just like, nah, bro, we're good for the rest of it. You
it's like
just
not even a full
imagine.
sentence. It's just like they all got up and went around preaching. So, anyways, we had dinner that night. It's just like, no, wait. Oh, okay. All right. Verse 1. Then Jesus spoke to the crowds and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees have seated themselves in the chair of Moses. Therefore, all that they tell you, do and keep, but do not do according to their deeds, for they say things and do not do them. And they tie up heavy burdens and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves are unwilling to move them with so much as a finger. But they do all their deeds to be noticed by men, for they broaden their phylacteries and lengthen the tassels of their garments. And they love the place of honor at banquets and the best seats in the synagogues, and respectful greetings in the marketplace, and being called rabbi by men. But do not be called rabbi, for one is your teacher, and you are all brothers. And do not call anyone on earth your father, for one is your father, he who is in heaven. Do not be called instructors, for one is your instructor, that is Christ. But the greatest among you shall be your servant. And whoever exalts himself shall be humbled, and whoever humbles himself shall be exalted. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you shut off the kingdom of heaven from people, for you do not enter in yourselves, nor do you allow those who are entering to go in. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense you make long prayers. Therefore, you will receive greater condemnation. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you travel around on sea and land to make one proselyte. And when he becomes one, you make him twice as much a son of hell as yourselves. Woe to you, blind guides, who say, whoever swears by the sanctuary, that is nothing. But whoever swears by the gold of the sanctuary, that is obligated. You fools and blind men. For which is more important, the gold or the sanctuary that sanctified the gold? And whoever swears by the altar, that is nothing. But whoever swears by the offering on it, that is, or he is obligated. You blind men, which is more important, the offering or the altar that sanctifies the offering? Therefore, whoever swears by the altar swears both by the altar and everything on it. And whoever swears by the sanctuary swears both by the sanctuary and by him who dwells in it. And whoever swears by heaven swears both by the throne of God and by him who sits upon it. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you tithe mint and dill and cumin, and have neglected the weightier provisions of the law, justice and mercy and faithfulness. But these are the things you should have done without neglecting the others. You blind guides who strain out a gnat but swallow a camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you clean the outside of the cup and of the dish, but the inside they are full of robbery and self-indulgences. You blind Pharisees, first clean the inside of the cup of the dish, so that the outside of it may become clean also. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you are like whitewashed tombs, which on the outside appear beautiful, but inside they are full of dead men's bones and all uncleanness. In this way, you also outwardly appear righteous to men, but inwardly you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you build the tombs of the prophet and adorn the monuments of the righteous, and say, if we had been living in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partners with them in the shedding of the blood of the prophets. So you bear witness against yourselves that you are sons of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up then the measure of the guilt of your fathers. You serpents, you brood of vipers, how will you escape the sentence of hell? On account of this, behold, I am sending you prophets and wise men and scribes. Some of them you will kill and crucify, and some of them you will flog in your synagogues and persecute from city to city, so that upon you may fall the guilt of all the righteous blood shed on earth, from the blood of the righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the sanctuary and the altar. Truly I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophet and stones those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together the way a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you did not want it. Behold, your house is left to you desolate. For I say to you, from now on, you will not see me until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. I hope you guys were picking up the massive, how the entire thing could be talking to Catholics.
Oh,
I was just
I thought of.
thinking the
in
same thing. I'm like, this whole thing's just written for them.
every
Yep.
single part of this is literally describing Catholics. It's
Yep.
so good. It's like
It definitely seems very like angry and aggressive and like,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's not
awesome.
very happy.
No,
Yeah.
Jesus was not a pacifist. He was yelling at these people. This is why, as you kind of read this, it starts off with, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, comma, hypocrites, comma, hypocrites, comma. And as we work our way down,
Right there.
hypocrites, exclamation mark, hypocrites,
Yeah.
exclamation mark. It gets a lot more yelling.
Mhm.
So, just for those that don't know, woe means like basically like, oh, I kind of like I feel bad for you, or poor you, kind
Kind of.
of.
It's
Are you saying it like in a way where it's like well, I don't know. Can you explain?
yeah, so it's basically like a warning phrase. So to say woe to you is the exact opposite of saying like blessed are you. So it in a way it's like a warning of condemnation of basically like and not a
Bas-
perfect one-to-one, it's basically saying damned are you because of this.
Oh,
Or what about
So
shame on
wait,
you, maybe?
what are you,
a little bit
but
more
what,
severe than shame on you.
Oh,
It
okay.
is literally
And then
saying like
How dare
so this
you?
kind of phrase,
what
woe
did
to
it be
you,
like?
scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, because you devour the houses of widows, is literally explaining like you are damned, this is why. And so like even right here it says, therefore you will receive greater condemnation. But yeah, so saying blessed are you or blessed are you is the exact opposite of woe to you. Woe to you is a very condemning phrase.
But what about like when it says like woe to the mothers that are going to be nursing in those days, like like talking about the fall of
Mhm.
Israel?
Yeah, so that
Also?
one in the very next thing where it's saying, woe to those, same kind of things. Woe to those who are pregnant and those who are nursing babies in those days. Same kind of thing. They're not blessed in this event. If they're nursing and
Oh,
pregnant during that time, then they are about to face severe judgment, or persecution, essentially a worldly damnation. Like them and their kids are going to die, is what he's saying with that. So,
Or
so it's
or
yeah.
it's
how
kind of like oh poor you, but not in the like feeling bad for them. It's more like you're gonna get what's coming.
Well,
or
it's
how
it's feeling
about
bad for him in a way for that because
Yeah.
he's saying like woe to them um who are about to face this, but he's not saying it in regards to um
I
he's
want to
not
take this
saying
away
like
from you.
being gentle. Was that?
As in, like, I don't want to take this away from you, kind of a thing. Like, you're getting what you deserve,
or
but it is what it is.
how
Yeah.
about if it's something more like how bad will it be if you continue to do this? Like for
Yeah,
you.
that is often used in that kind of case where we see that in Revelation where it says like woe to you paraphrased who do not repent. But similar kinds of concepts there. Um
Oh, I searched it up and it's like it says what was defined as deep inconsolable grief. Like I think that's a good way to describe it. Like it's grief, like you feel bad for them, but it's also a severe affliction or intense misfortune.
mhm. But it is like it's a prophetic warning of judgment or calamity in the case of Matthew 24 with that, where
Yeah, it's
it's a
like
warning.
if
It's saying like, hey, this is gonna be bad.
yeah, it's like if we were to say to like for example like the Epstein Island people, if we were to say like
Woe
oh
to the pedophiles. Yeah.
yeah like woe to you like I feel sorry for what you're about to go through. Not like not like in a sense where it's like oh poor you like I wish it would I don't know how to explain myself.
I think that I'm gonna have to create a new hashtag, which is going to be pedwo.
Headwell.
Pedwo. Woe to the pedophiles. Pedwo. Hashtag.
Uh,
It almost seems like this chapter like is like telling of what's going to happen because like, in 34 where it says, he's going to send, the prophets and the wise men and the scribes and some of them you will kill and
Hmm.
crucify. So like it hasn't happened yet, but like
Well,
this is
it did
Jesus
happen
talking, right? It's like he's telling
Yeah.
them, yeah, he's
but some
telling
of
them
it
what's
has
happening.
happened though too. Not all of it, like
like
with
with
the
Elijah, they were like persecuting
Right.
Elijah and killing all the prophets. So he's saying like, oh, you guys are saying like oh, we wouldn't have joined in with them, but like seeing how they're acting, Jesus is saying that like no, y'all definitely would have like
Yeah,
been.
same kind of way that we look back at Judas and Peter and like Peter who like doubted Jesus and like denied him 3 times. We look back and like, come on, I wouldn't have done that. It's the same kind of thing. It's like yeah, you probably would have. Like almost 100% you would have.
Right.
but like what I was thinking, Saul ended up killing a lot of the prophets and or not like no, never mind. That's the wrong train of thought. Ignore me.
No,
Okay.
but I mean, I think you're on the right track. Like a lot of like the apostles, they definitely got persecuted. So
Mhm.
you guys aren't wrong in that sense.
Right. And John the Baptist, like he's already been.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
like specifically in that, he does say that these things are going to happen in this generation. So truly I
Mhm.
say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. So in regards to
Right.
this, this is talking about the same thing where right before, gosh, where is that? Is it right after? No,
34.
it's immediately after. This will happen to this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent out of her. Then Matthew 24, which we're about to get to, goes over all of these things that like this is what people view as like tribulation and stuff like that, but this specifically, this is talking about in the first century, these things happened already. This is the stuff that happened 30 years after Jesus resurrected. This was the destruction of Jerusalem. So this isn't necessarily a thing that can be attributed to the end of the world. However, the common theory, and the one I hold to, is that since God foreshadows literally everything in the Old Testament several different times, I think that the first century calamity that happened here is a foreshadow of a greater tribulation at the end of the world. So that's why I hold to the premillennial thing, because some of the things that are described in Revelation never happened in the first century. So I don't think that this is tied directly to Revelation as a one-to-one same event. But any other questions in Matthew 23 before we get ahead of ourselves?
I was gonna.
Um,
Oh, you can ask first.
I mean, I didn't have necessarily a question, but I didn't know if you wanted to expand on why we correlate Catholics to this whole chapter.
Yeah, okay, that'd be fun. So
You
he's
don't have to
talking
go
to the
obviously
scribes.
everything.
He's talking to the scribes and the Pharisees who have seated themselves in the chair of Moses. So the basic continuance of what the Catholics have as the papacy is supposed to be the replacement of the chair of Moses, like almost literally. So, point one. Going further, it talks about how they put heavy burdens upon men's shoulders, but they don't do it themselves. It's that hypocrisy of demanding people do certain works in order to earn that increase of grace, stuff like that. They do it all to be noticed by men. So, the same way that you have the Pope dressed up like a pimp from outer space, it's so that people look at him and they adore him. And it's stuff like that. It's quite literally they're trying to be pretty and seen by men. It's the same thing he talks about in Matthew 6, where he's saying that these hypocrites are praying in public so that others will see them. Same thing that Catholics do, where they try to be as public as they can about praying or fasting, the opposite of what the Bible says, so that people will notice them. And then as we get down into this, we have it say, do not call or do not be called rabbi. One is your teacher, and you are all brothers. And do not call anyone on earth your father, for one is your father, he who is in heaven. And so, in this, it's not talking about, this is specifically in reference to spiritual leaders or religious people. So, it's not referencing your biological dad. Your biological dad is your father. However, in the context of someone in a religious capacity, do not call anyone on earth your father. Catholics, they refer to their priests as father. They even call the Pope the Holy Father, which is utter blasphemy. Then, as we go through all of these things, it's the same kind of concept in every single one of these. So, like this one in verse 14, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you devour widows' houses. This is quite literally what they did in the medieval times with indulgences, where whenever a husband would die, the Catholic Church would go to the widow's house week after week after week after week, saying, your husband is in agony in purgatory right now. The only way to help him is if I pray. And the only way I pray for him is if you pay me money. And so they'd say that the more money you give to the church, the faster people get out of purgatory. And so they were literally going to rob from widows. It was a horrible thing, and it happened all the time, consistently. And in that, they had this creepy little chant that they would say, every time a coin in the coffer rings, a soul from purgatory springs. So quite literally, they would walk around town with a gigantic tote for people to put gold into. And so every time you did that, boom, someone got freed from purgatory. Thank you for paying the church. And then magically it got people out of a mythical place. But all of these things, it goes into there. And then this one is massive on being a false teacher. This is so huge that most people pass over. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you travel around on sea and land to make one proselyte. So this is one convert to their religion. And when he becomes one, you make him twice as much a son of hell as yourselves. So, because this person was led into the false religion, it is going to be twice as hard for us to convince him otherwise. So, it's very, very big thing that whenever these people are converting people to their other religions, like Catholicism, they're damning people horribly, even worse than their own damnation in many cases. And then it goes through the entire thing where it's talking about these different things and what's actually more important, God or the earthly thing. So you have God or Mary, but they exalt Mary rather than God. They do all these little things, ignoring the actual part that has value and putting that value into something different. Further than that, everything that it goes down through is related in some capacity to what they're doing today. And so this part, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, who are like whitewashed tombs, which on the outside appear beautiful, but inside they are full of dead men's bones and all uncleanness. These are people who are walking the walk. They're talking the talk. They're doing it purely performatively. They're letting people see them and they're wanting people to recognize them as being so holy, so important, so awesome, but in reality, they're still dead inside. So in Ephesians 2, when it says that you have been dead, but Christ made you alive, by grace have you been saved, these people are all dead. They're spiritually dead. They need to be born again. But these people, they look like they're good. They look pretty, but they are dead and evil, and they're converting everyone to follow in their demands of death. They're demanding that people do certain works in order to earn heaven, and they're gatekeeping heaven based on that, which it was talking about back up here. So there's every aspect of the Pharisees, you see them being like a perfect foreshadow of the Roman Catholic Church. And not just the Catholic Church, there's others that are Pharisaical, but it is just like a perfect one-to-one comparison, especially if you go back into Mark 7 or Mark 6. I think it's Mark 6, verse 7, whenever it says, talking about the Pharisees, in vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrine of men. Thus, for the sake of your traditions, you have invalidated the word of God. It's the same thing. They elevate their ecclesia above scriptura. They elevate their church traditions above that which God has plainly revealed to us. So, Catholics are the modern day Pharisees.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh, I have one other thing that I find
Yeah.
interesting, I guess. The one is your instructor, one is your father, one is your teacher, or
Mhm.
something like that. I mean, that portion is depicting the three sides of the Trinity.
Yes.
Just a small tidbit that I just wanted to point out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's cool. However, the first one, though, Jesus himself was referred to as rabbi constantly.
Mhm.
So it would be Jesus the Father, Jesus.
But after Jesus
Oh, yep, you're right.
resurrected, he was said, "You will have a teacher sent to you."
Exactly. Where he came in his place. Okay, so yeah, you're 100% right on that. So yeah, that's really cool. I've never noticed that before.
Good catch.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, any other questions on this one before we jump into Matthew 24?
I had one about the father thing, but before I say that, I just wanted to point something out. You know how you said that they killed that, he said that they were going to kill the prophets and the called out ones?
Yeah.
Did you know that that's what the apostles like? That's what the word apostles literally translates to, the called out ones. And well, we see clearly all of the apostles, well, minus John, like died. You know.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Interesting.
I thought that was pretty cool. It's like he's literally talking about the apostles. Like maybe they didn't even know it there at the time, but yeah,
That's pretty
interesting.
cool.
Yeah. And then my question about like the father thing, you kind of answered it when you talked about it, but I was gonna ask about when it calls Abraham like the father, and it
So
also.
that's in the same way as calling your dad father, because
Mhm.
Abraham was the father ancestrally.
Yeah.
Because he was literally their great 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 grandpa.
Hmm. And then I've seen like some Catholics say that that Paul was called the father of something too.
Yeah, to Timothy, he was saying that he was like his father in the faith. hmm And there's different arguments about if that is correlated, if that's the same kind of principle, same kind of concept. Um, but I don't know specifically because again, if it's like him raising him in the thing or whatever, him referring to himself as that is not as bad as if Timothy were calling him father. It's like
Oh, I see.
Timothy, we have no record of him or indication that Timothy called him Father Paul,
Yeah, I mean, maybe he meant it like as a father figure, like a
like
literal,
nurturing. Yeah,
yeah, or like that he not that he raised him, but that he kind of like well,
raised them
because
in the faith.
yeah, raised him in the faith, exactly.
hmm But yeah, so still, it's a different category than this. So it's slightly different. Yeah,
Yeah, because in the Catholic one, there's really no relation. It's just like, oh, this guy's ahead of you. You call him dad. It's like
exactly. Yeah, if this
kind of.
guy is over you, you call him father, which is creepy.
I was gonna say that's kind of gay.
Well,
Makes
yeah,
them very happy.
whenever they go up and they say, "Forgive me, Father, I have sinned," if you wanted to just replace those words with other synonyms, it's "Sorry, Daddy, I've been naughty," and that's bad. Okay, let's. All right, Matthew 24, and then we'll call it a night.
You guys are
Okay,
killing Matthew over here.
Sorry.
If it wasn't recorded, I definitely would have gone off more a little bit.
that's fair to be safe. Ugh, not a lot of people watch these recordings. They don't get a lot of views. It's fine.
You should
Okay.
do clips of good like tangents. That'd be cool.
I could, but that would require just a lot of time in editing and searching that I don't want to do. So,
Yeah.
A lot.
okay. Starting in verse 1. And coming out of the temple, Jesus was going along, and his disciples came up to the point of the temple, or came up to point out the temple buildings to him. And he answered and said to them, "Do you not see all these things? Truly I say to you, not one stone here will be left upon another, which will not be torn down." So again, this is talking about something that occurred in 70 AD. He looked at a physical temple in Jerusalem and said that this will be torn down. And this happened in the year 70. Now, as he was sitting at the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us when these things will happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age." And Jesus answered and said to them, "See to it that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Christ,' and will deceive many. And you are going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for those things must take place, but that is not yet the end. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and in various places there will be famines and earthquakes. But all these things are merely the beginning of the birth pains. Then they will deliver you to tribulation, and they will kill you, and you will be hated by all nations because of my name. So again, you have all of the apostles, they are killed around this time frame. So Peter and Paul were both executed by Nero, who died in the year 69 or 68. He died in either 68 or 69. Someone fact check that for me. Um, but so this stuff taking place in 70, this is leading up to that. So Nero killed two of them. And so he's explaining that they will be specifically the apostles will be delivered to tribulation. They will kill you. You will be hated by all nations because of my name. And at that time, many will fall away and will betray one another and hate one another. Many false prophets will arise and deceive many. And because lawlessness is multiplied, most people's love will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end, he will be saved. And this gospel from the kingdom shall be proclaimed in the whole world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. Therefore, when you see the when you see the abomination of desolation, which was spoken of through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains. Whoever is on the housetop must not go down to get the things that are in his house. And whoever is in a field must not turn back to get his garments. But woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babies in those days. But pray that your flight will not be in the winter or on a Sabbath. For then there will be a great tribulation, such has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever will. And unless those days had been cut short, no life would have been saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Then if anyone says to you, behold, here is the Christ, or there he is, do not believe him. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and will show great signs and wonders so as to deceive, if possible, even the elect. Behold, I have told you in advance. Therefore, if they say to you, behold, he is in the wilderness, do not go out, or behold, he is in the inner rooms, do not believe them. For just as the lightning comes from the east and appears even to the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. But immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. And when the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of the sky with power and great glory. And and he will send forth his angels with a great trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the sky to the other. Now, learn the parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. So you too, when you see all these things, recognize that he is near, right at the door. Truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But of the day and hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but the Father alone. For just as the days of Noah were, so the coming of the Son of Man will be. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark. And they did not understand until the flood came and took them all away. So will the coming of the Son of Man be. Then there will be two in a field. One will be taken and one will be left. Two women will be grinding grain at the mill. One will be taken, one will be left. Therefore, stay awake, for you do not know which day your Lord is coming. But be sure of this, that if the head of the house had known at what time of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have allowed his house to be broken into. For this reason, you must also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour when you do not think he will. Who then is faithful and who then is the faithful and prudent slave whom his master whom his master put in charge of his household to give them their food at the proper time. Blessed is that slave whom his master finds so doing when he comes. Truly, I say to you that he will put him in charge of all his possessions. But if that evil slave says in his heart, my master is not coming for a long time, and begins to beat his fellow slaves and eat and drink with drunkards, the master of that slave will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour which he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites, in that place where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Questions?
You just want to go over all of it?
Again?
Oh, I was gonna
Right.
say,
Right
uh,
at 40 is what caught my attention.
Which one?
Like 30, like 39 or maybe 38, 40, like right in that area.
So just as in the days of Noah, so the coming of the Son of Man will be?
Yeah. And like then there will be two and like I don't know, just like all of that, yeah.
Yeah. So this is not talking about a rapture like people think. This is not at all talking about that. They try to say that one will be left, and they're like, oh, left behind. Boom. It's talking about rapture. At no point in this was it talking about a rapture, talking about people disappearing, floating up to the sky. But it's talking about how there's going to be some who are saved and some who are not. Because if you think about it this way, it's the exact opposite. So just in the days of Noah, uh, just as the days of Noah were, so the coming of the Son of Man will be. For in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying, giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark. Okay?
Right.
And so when the flood came, who was taken away?
the evil
Who-
ones.
Exactly. All of the evil ones were removed. They were taken. It wasn't the Christians, it wasn't the good ones. They weren't taken away. The ones who were taken away were the evil ones. And so it's talking about judgment in this, specifically in that
Right.
regard. It's not talking about the rapture in any way. It's talking about literally the opposite. It's talking about the condemnation of the guilty.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
technically we'll inherit the earth while the non-believers will go to hell.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we stay. Okay. Next question, because there's a lot in here. So I'm expecting
Well,
questions in this one.
you know how you brought up Nero that he died in like around
68.
68?
Was it 68? Okay.
Did you
Yes.
know that there was like at least two imposter Neros that took over after him?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff, even in his own life with imposter stuff, where like even
Yeah.
he ended up slitting his own throat whenever they found out some of his dirty little secrets. Um, but he murdered his mom, and then he I have a dog wanting to play with me, so that's why you see a pink pig hitting my arm. Um, but let's see here. I lost my train of thought. He murdered his mom, and then he murdered his best friend to steal his wife. Then he murdered his wife, and then he had his male servant, who he was in a homosexual relationship with, dress up as his wife to go out in public so that people would think his wife was still alive, but really he was having a homosexual relationship with this dude. Then after they found out all of these things, that's whenever they went to try to persecute him, and he was a coward, and he cut his own throat in his bedroom before they arrested him. And that was in 68, which is 2 years prior to the actual fall of this stuff happening.
When I looked it up, it said June 9th specifically.
Is when he died.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But still, so yeah,
I know some people. I don't know if Messenger of Truth correlates this, but I know I've heard some people try to correlate because there's like a it says something about the man of lawlessness gets wounded and then he comes back or something.
Yeah,
They try to say that that was like Nero coming back to life, even though it wasn't actually him.
oh, as the imposters.
Yeah, I know. I've heard like I've seen one video where someone said that, and I was like, wait, but it's not actually him.
Interesting. Um, but yeah, because the way that it describes it, I believe that's Revelation 13. It describes that one of the heads of the beast is suffering from an apparent mortal wound. So a wound that looks like it would kill you, but he miraculously recovers. So it's not that he died, but that
Yeah,
he was about to die and miraculously didn't die. Is more in
Hmm.
line with that. Not because there's no point in the Bible that mentions the beast is going to cower away in a bedroom and cut his own throat.
Yeah, that's true. Hmm.
Because I
Yeah, I
mean,
don't know.
even with that, they could have instead of like doing like the gematria of like his number is 666. I'm talking about Nero. They could have just been like, it's the gay Caesar. He's the one, which would have
Yeah,
been funnier.
the gay one.
The gay Caesar. But still, so there's a lot of stuff in here which I think is a foreshadow of a future event, like the coming of Jesus Christ is actually going to be coming at the end of the world, not in this time frame. But whenever he's talking about these things, people lump them together of him saying that all this will happen within this generation, and people literally lump all of it together, including his return. But that
Those
just
ones, those ones are heresy, right? Where they
yeah,
say
because
that, oh,
if you
Jesus
think that
already.
Jesus already returned, then yeah, that's incorrect. Because
So do you hold on to the belief that the uh fig tree is representing Israel?
in this one specifically,
Yeah.
so this one, I do not think that this is referencing anything specifically. I think it's actually talking about the nature of this specific or of the fig tree, where he's saying that the tree itself can tell whenever the summer's coming. So the same way you should be able to see, like whenever these things start to happen, you can recognize, like, oh yeah, it's coming. But other parables relating to a fig tree, I see that being related to Israel and stuff like that. This one, I think it's literally he's talking about it literally blossoming. Like it's able to determine what's going to happen. You should be because then he gives another parable of the exact same thing that says like whenever you see storm clouds, you understand that that means that a storm is coming. In the same way, you should be able to see that whenever these things are taking place, this is about to happen. Does that make
Like,
sense?
like
Yeah.
literally just that, like you'll see the signs and you'll recognize it, and
Yeah,
you'll.
that's what I think this specific mention of the
So
fig tree,
when
but there's others where it talks about like the grafting and stuff like that, and I think that's more in regards to the nation of Israel.
so when those signs start taking place, the generation will not pass away before it's done.
Yes,
Because then
but again,
that's
I
what 34 would mean. Like
yes.
if the tree is blossoming, if the signs are truly happening, then that generation will not pass away before all these things take place.
Is is there any chance that
Or
the
am I misunderstanding it?
Well, that's what a lot of the debate is. So whenever he says this generation, let's take a look at some Greek, except it's going to scroll away from me. Um, So whether or not he's referencing it as being this generation as the subject, um, normative feminine singular. Okay. So as it being the subject or literally the generation that he's speaking to. So this, these, etc. Um, includes normative masculine, plural, normative feminine. Um, demonstrative pronoun. Absolutely. This one visibly present here. Okay. So, and this is to say that it is this visibly present here according to the nature and character of the person or thing mentioned. It is used with a suggestion. So potentially it is in reference to the very crowd in front of him, that generation, or the generation he described as seeing the signs. So that's where it gets
It
tricky
would
because it
only
does
it would
predict the
only
fall of
make sense
Jerusalem.
then, but then it would only make sense for it to be the generation that sees it coming, because if it's the generation that's in front of him, then they would have to have witnessed all of those signs take place.
That's the tricky part.
Yeah, well, I've heard that that language is it's not new, where he says that you'll see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven, because
Yeah, that's Daniel
that's used
9.
in, yeah, that's used, well, I think it's also used in the Old Testament for when God was like judging nations.
Mhm.
So in the same sense, like, do you think like like Jesus could have came in that sense, like as judgment to Israel, but not like physically like returning, like the like it's not the physical what do you call it? Return? Or
Hmm.
what
So maybe that it's more of a
like in the just in the
symbolic
sense of,
reference in the judgmental sense.
yeah, because I don't I know it says like multiple times, like just talking about like that I'm so sorry, I can't like collect my words.
I
Yeah,
think
but
I'm
it says in
following.
the Old Testament that coming in the clouds of heaven was it was used like that before.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
Because yeah,
God
in
physically
yeah,
coming to earth as
mhm.
like because then that would mean that Jesus coming on earth wasn't the first coming, you know?
Yeah. But okay. Which, but every kind of indication, even then, whenever it references that, was always talking about a future event, not what was happening in the term of the judgment. But it was always in the Old Testament saying that Yahweh was the one who comes on the clouds of heaven. This is
Mhm.
why, so Daniel 7 and Daniel 9 mention that. This is why in Mark 14:62, they say, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One?" Jesus says, "I am, and you shall see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power, coming with the clouds of heaven." So he's calling himself Yahweh in three ways at the in that part. And
Mhm.
so in that he's referencing that future judgment of him coming on the clouds of heaven, same way that he's referencing it here. So it's a really tricky one because again,
It's
this kind of opens it up to being both of them seem to be possible. So either this
yeah.
one visibly present here, or according to the nature of the character or person being mentioned. So I mean that gets painfully because I think that that's what most of the thing is. So you too, when you see all these things, recognize that he is near, right at the door. Truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. So I mean, it's tricky, and I think that this
But
is one of those big arguments.
I feel like another argument would be, truly I say to you, and he's speaking to them, that this generation that he's describing will not pass away before all the things take place.
Possible,
Why, why are
because I
you
mean that.
highlighting, you know?
Oh, because that is him recognizing, or what do you call it? You saying this generation would be in reference to this you and not this you. So that's what I was highlighting that for.
But are you sure the you isn't meaning like, you know, it's gonna rain when you smell, like you can smell it, but not, let's see here. You can use it in the singular or in the like, that is the part that King James is good at, like specifying like if it's for one you or multiple you. Um,
Babos.
Oh, I found in Isaiah 19 that this is talking about when God judges Egypt, but it says the oracle concerning Egypt, behold, Yahweh is riding on a swift cloud and is about to come to Egypt. The idols of Egypt will shake at his presence, and the heart of the Egyptians will melt within them. So right there, it's like an
Interesting,
example.
yeah.
say that I wasn't paying attention. Can you say it again?
Yeah, so I was saying like the coming in the clouds of heaven is in the sense of God coming to judge a nation. And right here
Yeah.
in Isaiah, it's talking about when God judged Egypt. It says, "The oracle concerning Egypt, behold, Yahweh is riding on a swift cloud and is about to come to Egypt. The idols of Egypt will shake at his presence, and the heart of the Egyptians will melt within them." This is basically about like Moses or Exodus.
Very interesting.
So I don't know. I guess I'm asking is there any chance that that's not the second coming of Jesus? Like
There is a massive chance, correct. I understand exactly what you're saying, and that does make sense as a very plausible theory that it's not actually referencing that.
it
Because,
could also be as I was looking it up, it was also correlating it to how God was literally inside the pillar of cloud, and also at
uh-huh.
Mount Sinai he was in the cloud. So it could be referring to that if it's not talking about the judgment.
Interesting.
But that's also Jesus calling himself God right there. So that's
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah. So at the very least, yeah, we have that. But yeah, it is one of the most confusing chapters in the Bible, and that is why it's so debated. And that's why it's hard to actually try to determine that. Because at the same time that it's saying be ready for his coming, in the way that you're referencing it as though it was the coming of the judgment of that nation, that would make sense rather than it being his second coming, because like the very last words in the Bible, does anybody know them?
Amen.
God
Amen.
bless
Oh,
you.
it's right before that. Right before that.
It
So this
says,
was written around 95 AD. So after that, about 20 years after the events there, and it says, Uh, yes, I'm coming quickly. Amen. Come, Lord Jesus. So he has not returned yet in a second coming, 25 years after Matthew 24 was fulfilled. So, I mean, that very, very confusing, very tricky things here, but it's fascinating.
yeah.
Hmm.
And so I looked up just generation just to see what it said about it. It says that that word specifically, or the word there specifically, is meaning um a whole multitude of men living at the same time. So that's at least like the people living then, whichever then we're talking. It's going to
Yeah.
be all of that generation.
See, I mean, that's where it gets really hard because, like, it's either post-millennial or pre-millennial. Those are the two options. It's just really hard to say that. As I've made the statement that if abortion becomes illegal across the entire globe and every country gets gun rights, I'll become post-millennial in a heartbeat. But until that, I see the opposite. I see things getting worse, not getting better. So it's hard to see that
For the
viewpoint.
for the path is small.
Exactly. So
So
it's
why would
hard to
it
say.
get bigger afterwards?
I don't know. Because I mean
That
it is still a narrow path because if you look at the entire culmination of all the people who have ever lived compared to the people who are currently alive, which is only exponentially growing even more. We shouldn't do math in this. That hurts my head too much, but I'm trying.
Well, I
But yeah,
mean,
so
I
lots
feel
of
like
tricky.
the gate is narrow, but that doesn't mean that a little bit of people are going to go through it, because it is narrow because Jesus is the only way in. So that's like the smallest. That is the smallest because there's like multiple religions, there's multiple beliefs, but only belief in Jesus will get you to heaven. You know?
Correct. But in the same verse, he does say that the way to life is narrow and few will enter it.
True.
So he does specifically add on the few part and then
Hmm.
says that the way to destruction is wide and many will follow that path. So it's yes and no. This is why this gets so complicated and so confusing whenever you go into things like this, because whenever it comes to uh, eschatology, it is just all maybe like that. Everything
Hmm.
is a maybe. So it's really tricky.
Yeah, and then you have to get not just that, like you have to understand like a bunch of stuff from like the Old Testament too, like symbolism and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
have a very wide understanding of the whole Bible.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, that's probably why the Bible or like Revelation also talks about like you shouldn't teach it willy-nilly.
Yeah, exactly. Because I
Hmm.
mean, it is a very complicated, very tricky thing.
Can you
Oh,
explain the names for the esti
Yeah, I can't say
the
that.
eschatology, like because
eschatology.
yeah, like the
So
current one you believe in, and then the one that you're leaning towards if the world gets better.
yeah. So premillennial means that you believe Jesus' second coming will come before the millennial reign. So just briefly to give you guys we'll read this just super briefly so that you guys get the full concept of this if you don't understand it. So Christ's 1,000-year reign, this is referred to as the millennial reign of Christ. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, having the key of the abyss and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold of the dragon, the serpent of old, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. And he threw him into the abyss and shut it and sealed it over him, so that he would not deceive the nations any longer until the 1,000 years were finished. And after these things, he must be released a short time. Then I saw thrones, and they sat on them, and judgment was given to them. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of their witness of Jesus and because of the word of God, and who also had not worshipped the beast or his image, and had not received the mark on their foreheads or on their hand. And they came to life and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. The rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is the one who has part in the first resurrection. Over these, the second death has no authority, but they will be priests of God and of Christ and will reign with him for 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years are finished, Satan will be released from his prison and will come out to deceive the nations which are at the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together for war. The number of them is like the number of sand in the seashore. And they came up on the broad plain of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints and the beloved city, and fire came down from heaven and devoured them. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are also, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. So, the millennial reign, the resurrection, the premillennial view is that it is a literal resurrection of all of the dead who have all died. They all come back simultaneously, and this occurs after Jesus comes back. So, Jesus, to put this into a very singular order, Jesus returns. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth passed away, and there is no longer any sea. So, earth is destroyed, okay? Heaven, Old heaven destroyed. New heaven, new earth. Yay. They're now one singular thing, just like the Garden of Eden was. So that resurrection is onto that. So that occurs when Jesus returns. That's the premillennial view. Jesus returns, then those happen. Postmillennialism views it more symbolically, as the first resurrection is in reference to the being born again, not a literal first resurrection of the saints in terms of it being a literal back to life. They still believe in a resurrection, but they think that both the people in the bad part and the good part of Sheol come back at the same time together. For those who do hold to that, others think that you go to heaven and then you come back down, and that's just a mess. But whatever. But still, they think that it is more of a metaphorical millennial reign, that Jesus is ruling and reigning now, which I hold to that Jesus is ruling and reigning now, but now is also his millennial kingdom. But that's where it's like, okay, but that's not 1,000 years.
Yeah,
That's
it's already been 2000.
exactly. And even if you go into which I mean, if you want to take that, we can hurt my head really bad on this one. If you wanted to take that by the prophetic days, then we would have uh, uh, 365,000 years. So I don't think it's talking about that. I really shouldn't have needed a calculator for that, but whatever. Um, oh, that's so simple math. I'm so dumb. Okay. Um, but yeah, so the post millennials think that everyone eventually becomes a Christian and then Jesus returns. The millennial reign is happening and then Jesus comes at the end of it. So
Oh,
yeah, it's exactly opposite just in when he comes back. So it gets tricky in that way. But
Doesn't it
basically
say that
the
he reigns for 1,000 years and Satan is not here? Like, I don't feel like Satan's not here.
oh yeah, Satan's 100% here. That's my biggest argument against this. It's like we
Yeah.
have like that was one of the thing where they were saying like, oh well, no, he's bound in a very specific way. That he's bound where he's not able to deceive the nations anymore. But it's like,
but
but he
do
literally still is.
Right.
That's
Okay,
all
but
Satan does is start false religions.
but
Yeah.
does
what
does Satan need to be here? Because aren't we all naturally like sinful?
right,
Correct.
that's what I was thinking. I was just like, what about our flesh? Our flesh is also naturally sinful, so could that correlate? But also not because of the apparitions.
Exactly. You have Muhammad having the angel of light appear to him. You have Moroni appearing to Joseph Smith. You have the Marian apparitions. You have way more than just those in various other countries around the world of various weird religions going through basically all of time. You have things like that occurring within like Native American tribes of them talking about this being of light that appeared to them and told them to sacrifice their babies. Like Satan is still actively doing all of this stuff all the time. So
Yeah.
I do not think under any circumstance that Satan is currently bound in the pit
I
waiting
don't
for
think
his second little attempt.
I agree.
So yeah,
Wait,
it's
I thought there was two resurrections. It was the one for the Christians, and then later on it was the non-believers.
exactly. Yeah, so that is what this teaches. So right here is the rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. And then later you see the second resurrection. Um, yeah, and then I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and Hades, the grave, gave up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, everyone according to their deeds. Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death, the lake of fire. So there are two resurrections, but postmillennials typically think the first resurrection is metaphorical and symbolic of being born again. I disagree with that. I think that it's legitimately an actual resurrection after everything is done.
Yeah, I don't think a messenger of truth believes in that one because I
Okay.
think there's definitely two resurrections, like actual resurrections.
Okay. See, and this is where it gets so confusing. Because if you are
Yeah.
post-millennial, which it sounds like he is in basically every possible camp,
Hmm.
aside from that, then, which maybe he hasn't thought it through all the way, but
Yeah, it's so weird because there's not like set views. Like there's like stuff in between where people believe in different stuff.
yeah.
It's so confusing.
Which there's a book that my buddy gave me a couple of years ago. I still haven't read it. I've read like just a few different things in it because it goes through chapter by chapter through the book of Revelation, and it tells you the four main viewpoints on every single verse. So it is a very hefty book, but it goes through a historicist, a futurist, a preterist, um, a idealist. So the futurist is typically premillennial, the preterist is typically postmillennial, the historicist is where it was all taking place throughout history. And then idealist, I can't remember exactly how to explain that one because it makes the least sense. And so I just kind of blow it off. Um,
Hmm.
Ideally, they would have a better name for it. But um, within those three, futurist, preterist, and historicist, those are the primary ones held by people. Historicist makes a lot of sense to me. Partial futurist makes a lot of sense to me. Partial preterist makes a lot of sense to me. So just the I think that
Yeah.
there is a little bit of a combination with all of it, and that's the tricky part.
Yeah.
It hurts my head.
Hmm.
Regardless, there's no rapture, and that's all we need to be worried about.
Yeah, I'm sure he agrees with you there.
But yeah, super duper tricky. But any other questions in Matthew 24?
I already forgot all of Matthew 24.
The same things we're talking about right now, except we start focusing in on this generation, wherever
Oh
that
yeah.
went.
And
Verse
coming on clouds.
14. No, no.
I think it's down further, like around 34.
34.
There it is.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So that is what we went on that massive tangent for. So, any other questions for any other parts of back in this?
Can you just up just a little bit? Can you pull up, where is it? Stop. Don't move. Um, for 32, can you look at King James?
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, you mean the only version of the Bible? No, I'm kidding.
Now learn the parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh.
The ye part was what I was looking for, because that was,
Ye and you.
yeah.
Did you just
So,
want him to
Because
read it in Old English?
so then let's do now comparison of just right here for the ye and you and see if it is the similar yeas.
sometimes the ye's are these.
Ah,
So,
verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled.
so are they two different U's then?
I don't know. That's the trickiest part of all this.
That would, to me, that's what makes sense, is they're two different U's.
And that's,
And even King James used two different U's.
yeah, because I don't understand. Do you know the distinction between ye and you?
So it's like singular, plural, talking to a group, talking to you specifically, talking to someone else. So like that's the good part about King James is they are able to distinguish that with that language.
It's like
Okay.
y'all, like
Yeah.
YALL, like here y'all.
So then is this him saying, I say to y'all, or is the
That
other
would be
one the
like
y'all? So is
the other one.
y'all know that summer's near? Or truly I say to y'all, this generation will not pass until all these things have taken place.
I
Which
I
is
think
mean,
y'all and
y'all
which is
goes to
you?
summer.
Can you read
Y'all
it?
also we
y'all
could
know summer is
also
near.
Oh,
look
right
at
here.
the we can also look at the inner whatever, inner the first
Interlinear.
one. Yeah.
So likewise,
And
ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Fancy.
um you can see like if the you is plural or singular there as well. So if you just
Okay, so let's see here.
click on
Right,
tools and click
plus
on interlingual, I can't say that word.
interlinear.
Interlinear. Okay.
Okay,
Um,
let's see here. Very let's say
and
to
then
you.
I think, do you just hover over something?
Yeah, so it says
That
that it
one's
is
plural.
a dative plural. So I say to you all this generation. But I think it's the biggest thing is not necessarily the you, it's the this. Is it referencing this generation being the subject of what he's talking about, or being that very crowd in front of him that is this? Because that's kind of what we already looked over and did not get a definitive answer from what this gives us information on.
Well, aren't we looking for the word that? Wouldn't that make more sense? Like,
Well,
literally, I say to
it's more
you
so
that
this.
generation.
I say to you, this generation.
Yeah, but you guys are trying to figure out if it's that generation or one in the future, right?
Yeah,
Right.
as in like
But
if it's this generation or this generation. So it's the one I described or the one I'm speaking to. That's where the debate is.
Yeah. You don't think
but
he would
that
have said
generation has
that?
already lived, so wouldn't everything already have to take place by then?
Exactly.
To
Well,
me, that doesn't make sense.
but I mean,
That's why I think it's partially fulfilled here, partially fulfilled in the end.
but he doesn't say that the resurrection would have happened in that generation, right? Just the second coming. Well, not the second coming, but coming on the clouds of heaven, right? Like the
The
judgment.
Yeah, if it is in reference to that being, what that means whenever the Son of Man is coming in that way, if it is in reference to the judgment of Jerusalem, then highly possible.
Wouldn't
But
that?
it still doesn't line up fully though whenever it's referencing it in the way that it does. So I mean, it is a really really difficult chapter. We probably should have just done one single entire Bible study on nothing but Matthew 24 because there is a lot in here and it is very very complicated.
Mhm.
I mean like Jeff Durbin, who is a post millennial, he has gosh, I think he did like a 4 or 5 month sermon series on Matthew 24.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was a long time of him doing nothing but Matthew 24. So it's very tricky because like I understand the argument for postmillennial and preterism on this very, very well because I've watched all of those sermons and heard all of his arguments. I still am not convinced of it though. That's why I still hold to the potential of this generation could be in reference to this one. So it's so tricky because like as it's talking about the Son of Man appearing and that he will gather his elect. So it does sound a lot like the second coming
Yeah,
because there was no gathering of the elect in the first century. There were false Christs, there were false prophets, but there were also after this.
that's true.
And so that's the trickiest part with all this. For then there will be a great tribulation, such has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever will. So that there will be no greater tribulation. But the trickiest part about that is if he's referencing the destruction of Jerusalem, that pales in comparison to the reign of Diocletian in 280, because he slaughtered so many more Christians. He was so much worse to all of the Christians than Nero ever even dreamt of being. So it's like, it is so hard because even that is a higher tribulation than what occurred in 70. So it is hard. I do not know.
Yeah, and then not even just for Christians, like there's been worse. Like, would you say the Holocaust was worse than the fall of Jerusalem? Because that's persecution, like not Christian persecution, but it's still a form of it, you know?
Yeah, and I don't know if that's going to be, because in this it is talking about the primarily like the elect are going to be the ones that are kind of targeted in this.
Oh
Um,
yeah, and
so like
they like Jesus. So.
yeah, so like the Holocaust, obviously horrible and obviously probably 10 times more fatalities than this. But even so, with that, every single year globally, like every single year globally, there's 73 million abortions. So every single year, we have 7 times the Holocaust every year on babies. So if it's just a death count, it can't possibly be a correlation to it. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky one.
Wow,
Hmm.
I didn't know that 7 times more. That's crazy.
Yeah, because the amount of Jews that were killed were what was that, 12,000? Or not 12, so, sorry, 12 million?
I was about to say that's it.
Yeah, only 12,000. No, 12 million. But in the United States alone, just here every year, there's over a million abortions. Globally, it's around 73 million every year. That is insane considering that since Roe v. Wade happened in the United States, we've had about 75 to 76 million abortions here. So our history of having abortions since, what was that, like 74 or something? Since then, we've killed as many as the entire world kills every single year. It's
That's
it is
horrible.
astronomical the amount of babies that are murdered. It blows my mind. So again, that seems like a much greater tribulation than Jerusalem falling.
True.
So yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, that's a really good point right there.
Whole thing is just very complicated, hurts my head, and Natasha disappeared. But all right, we shall call it for the evening. I will not be able to do Bible study on Tuesday next week, so we'll have to resume 2 weeks from now. So the following, what is that day? So yeah, 17th I won't be here, so we will be back on the 24th. Bueno?
Hmm.
Bueno. Awesome. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night. God bless you. Toodly
God
do.
bless you guys.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.